It was supposed to be just another quiet morning in rural Ohio, the kind where the wind moves gently through endless rows of corn and nothing ever seems to happen. But that morning, something did happen. Something that would turn a peaceful cornfield into a crime scene and force detectives to rely on one of the rarest investigative techniques ever used. Because hidden among those towering stalks was a body, and whoever left her there believed she would never be found. They were wrong. The cornfield sat miles from the nearest town, stretching farther than the eye could see. Farm workers passed it every day, row after row after row. But on this morning, something felt off. A foul odor hung in the air. At first, it was ignored. This was farmland. Dead animals weren't unusual. But as one worker walked deeper between the rows, the smell intensified. Stronger, heavier. He followed it, step by step, until he saw something that made him stop cold. Lying face down in the dirt was the body of a woman. Her clothing was torn, her skin pale, and within seconds, it was clear this was no accident. Police were called immediately. By the time detectives arrived, the cornfield had transformed from farmland into a tightly controlled crime scene. And one question echoed through the rows. Who was she? And how did she end up here? The crime scene offered almost nothing. No wallet, no phone, no identification. There were no nearby homes, no traffic cameras, no witnesses, just dirt, corn, and silence. The body showed signs of trauma. But the location raised an even darker possibility. This wasn't where she was killed. Whoever did this had moved her, deliberately choosing a place where discovery seemed unlikely. Detectives documented everything. Tire impressions near the field's edge, the position of the body, the disturbed soil beneath her. Every detail mattered. Because without knowing who she was, finding the killer felt nearly impossible. The body was transported to the medical examiner's office. The autopsy revealed key facts. She had been killed days earlier, cause of death. Blunt force trauma defensive wounds showed she had fought back, but her identity remained a mystery. No missing persons reports matched her description. Flyers went nowhere. Databases came up empty. Days passed. Then one investigator suggested something unconventional. A technique rarely used, often debated, and sometimes the last option left. Detectives turned to forensic genealogy. At the time, it was controversial, expensive, and far from guaranteed. DNA was extracted from the victim and uploaded to a public genealogy database, not to find the killer, but to find her family. Weeks went by. Then, finally, a match. Not a close one, a distant relative. Investigators followed the family tree branch by branch, name by name, until they reached her. The woman in the cornfield finally had an identity, and with it, a past. She was a young woman trying to start over. Friends described her as quiet but hopeful. She had recently left a turbulent relationship. She was making plans for a new beginning. But as detectives dug deeper, a troubling pattern emerged. Arguments, threats, control. One man who refused to let go. Someone who knew her schedule. Someone who knew where she'd be. Someone who knew how to make her disappear. Suddenly, the cornfield didn't feel random at all. When questioned, the suspect denied everything. He claimed he hadn't seen her in weeks. Said they had ended on good terms, but detectives noticed inconsistencies. His timeline didn't line up. Cell phone records placed him near the cornfield the night she vanished. Soil found on his vehicle matched the field exactly. When confronted, his calm demeanor cracked. Just slightly, but enough. Detectives knew. They were close. With forensic evidence mounting, the suspect was arrested. In court, prosecutors laid out the truth. A heated argument, a violent act, a desperate attempt to erase it all. The jury didn't deliberate long. Guilty. The cornfield that once hid a secret now held the truth. Today, the cornfield looks unchanged, quiet, still, ordinary. But the detectives who worked the case know better. Because sometimes the most peaceful places hide the darkest secrets. And sometimes the land remembers everything. If you enjoy deep dive true crime stories like this, subscribe to the Detective Diaries. New cases, real investigations, every day.